Hello, welcome artists. Welcome to our live feed. You are here with me, Chris, and we are going to paint a couple things, but the title of today's tutorial is Introspective Line Art Mixed Media. That one's on the wrong side. So in the next little while, we will paint one or two or three of these line art self-portraits. Yes, they are of my face, and I'll walk you through how I made these. And so probably I will make or demonstrate three. I'll demonstrate three sort of different techniques, different colors, and you guys can decide whether you want to do all three kind of quickly as I'm going through them, or maybe focus on just one style, one portrait. You decide. You can also always just watch the video for now, and then later on your own time, you can do the artwork yourself at your own pace, or rewatch the video a second time and follow along with me. Let me know in the live chat. Is it on this side? Pretty sure. Maybe where you're from. I'd love to know how far this tutorial reaches. And I'd love to know if you've ever done a tutorial or one of our paid tutorials with me before, Chris. And let me know which ones you've done before. So while people are tuning in, logging in, I'm going to go over a few supplies, most of which you can sort of see on my screen already. Let's move these away for a moment. We'll get back to those. Get over here. So we need some kind of paper or maybe even a small canvas to do your introspective line art on. So I'll probably demonstrate, well, really simply, literal just computer paper. This is just a sheet of paper that you would, snag out of your printer. I'll demonstrate on just regular printer paper. You can do this art on just regular printer paper. As an option, I grabbed a couple of, from the thrift store or maybe a used bookstore, sheet music, like for piano or whatnot. What one's this one? This one's Wedding Songs. Yeah, Wedding Song Book. And it's great. This one, I just, rip out a page whenever I need sheet music. I also have favorite songs of the 90s, and it's not the 1990s, it's the 1890s. So the songs are very, very old in this particular one. If you find a sheet music book that's bound, what I did is I got my husband to just literally cut the spine off of the book so that I have individual loose papers to do art on. Wonderful. So sheet music is optional. You could also, print some sheet music on just regular printer paper and do an artwork on that, totally. Or because we will be using like a wet media, watercolor paints, you could get a watercolor sketchbook like this, watercolor Canson XL, and do your work right in a watercolor book or have loose watercolor paper to work on. Let's see, where will I put these for now? I'm going to probably rip out, which one did I have here? I'll just take a sheet of that out. So again, I'll probably demonstrate 2 or 3 different images, and then you guys can choose, which ones you actually want to do, follow along with what you have at home. So your self-portrait, it doesn't necessarily have to be you yourself. It could just be any person that you know. It could be a stock photo. Let's look at an example. So I just snapped this quick picture of myself, eyes closed. I like my imagery, these line art images, to have closed eyes. I just think it's more peaceful, serene to have a closed eye, but that's up to you. You could have open eyes. So this is literally just a quick snap of myself. You know, hair's a little messy. You don't have to have makeup on. We're just going for like your facial structure. So that is more like head on, directly facing. This one's more like I'm looking downwards. Up to you what kind of an angle you want to do. And again, you don't have to have yourself. You could take a photo of someone in your family and make this art about them, or stock photos. So I just grabbed these from online of you Google closed eye woman or closed eye man, or you could be more specific, woman with glasses, closed eyes kind of thing. So there's several, could be a man. You could do a portrait of a man, a younger man, a younger woman. Just some examples. I love her, facial structure here. I really like that one. I might use that one in a moment. Let's just put that there to consider. So if you don't have an image on like a device like this is quite a big tablet. You could also print out an image of your choice. So I just printed out one of them at random. I printed out this lovely lady. That would be a lovely portrait to do. Again, it doesn't have to be yourself. So I printed that out just quickly as an example. So what I went ahead and did, and I'll show you a couple ways to do this. I did pre-trace this particular one, but I'll show you how I did some other things. So with this printed out picture, I put a piece of tape, taped it to the back of this is just regular printer paper, put it up against a window, and then just traced with a pencil just the sort of main facial features of the face. I left out the hair. We're going to do sort of florals in the hair. So just really the main facial features, loose outline. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see, a few wrinkles that I've depicted there. The nose, not everyone's nose is symmetrical kind of thing. So just the main features here. And I've left lots of room for flowers, could be leaves, could be butterflies, anything abstract even. So that's what I do with this one, just against a window. And it's still pretty light out here. I'm in Ontario, so it's still light out. You can still do this. Hit pause and then trace away and then return with us. So that's one way to do it. If you have a large device and you can like maximize the brightness, I've got it on max brightness, you could literally just put that down, get your sheet music or printer paper. Now, it's hard to see right now. I'm going to turn off a couple lights. I've got like 1, 2, 3 or 4 lights on me right now. I can turn some of these off. It's still pretty difficult to see, but if it was truly dark in here, you'd be able to see much better. Or if you have a tracing pad or light table, that kind of thing. Let me have a look with this paper. Oh yeah, that's kind of doable as an example. So here's another example of how you would transfer an image to your paper. And I'll just quickly get some of her main features on here with a pencil. And it doesn't even have to be all the features. What if you want a single eye, and then over here you want a flower? And mine's not 100% perfect or accurate, just getting the main features. And, if things are a little off or exaggerated, you could give yourself like fuller lips. That would be all right. You could exaggerate the curvature of something, say the eyebrows. She's got quite high arched eyebrows. Could involve a little bit of the neck. I do want to leave a lot of room for florals, so I've just really quickly got most of the face down here. I might do a little bit on the sides of the nose. That's pretty good. A bit more light. Okay, let's put that there. Let's put that there. And let's see, in the interest of saving time, I might just trace. So here's my other artwork from my photo of myself, but I do want to have one on sheet music. I'm just going to like literally really quick trace it against the brightness of the window. While you're tracing yours, have a look at this one as inspiration. I also linked down here in the description for extra line art inspiration, this image here that you can have a look at. I'm literally just going to reach over here to my window and trace my face on this musical note sheet music. And because this is pencil, we can like change anything we want later. We don't have to stick with this now. Oh yeah, the window. The sun is so bright today. Oh my gosh. You can have glasses or not. You don't have to draw your glasses. And I'm starting to think about what colors are my favorite, what colors would maybe go with the room where I might display this. Or if you're drawing someone else, what are their favorite colors? Okay, I think that's good. So like the curtain, once it lets in the light, scorching. We don't want that open. Okay, I just quickly sketched my own face sort of near the bottom of my musical note paper. How else could you transfer your picture on here? You could just hand sketch it. Sketch it from hand. Look at a photo of someone, hand sketch it. Okay, yeah, so here's just some inspiration. So that this image is also linked down here. Different angles. I mean, there's a lot that are face on kind of a thing, but there's some looking down, looking to the side, looking up. So in the future, if you want to do this line art again, more, try a different angle as you take the photo to trace. Just an idea. Okay, so I'm going to do, what did I decide on? Did I decide 3? Okay, so here is the older woman, the younger woman, and then this one will be me. Everything's in pencil. I've got all kinds of stuff here. I've got Sharpies in different colors, pens in different colors, including there's a gold in there too. And then later on, we're going to add a bit of watercolors. So I've got this little set here. I got it on Amazon by Mei Liang. A nice little travel set of watercolors. Got some brushes and some water. What else could you add to this? Some acrylics. Acrylics would be fine. Gouache, which is sort of a mix between watercolor and acrylics. What about colored pencils? You could do your line work in colored pencil, or you could color in some shapes in colored pencil. pastels, inks, anything you have, maybe collage, if you have scraps of older artwork that you can cut up and collage pieces would be amazing too. So I'm going to first do my outlines of my face in, I'll probably do marker. I've got like a black Sharpie here. I could do a brown or a gray. Let's look at what I did here. So this one is outlined in black, which I think is a nice sharp contrast with the white paper. And then this one I outlined in brown, just to try something different. Brown. What about red? If that's your favorite color, what about blue? Try that out. I'll do one in black for sure. So it's hard to see in this light. There's the outline of sort of my face, and that's based on like this photo of me. I'm looking sort of downward. So I'm going to outline everything, and you can simplify shapes as needed. Again, you could sort of leave out an eye if you want the eye to be replaced by, say, a flower. And your lines don't have to be perfectly thin. They don't have to be exactly matching. Not everyone's face is symmetrical. And for the closed eyes, I just simply do a C shape. Would you call it a C shape? A very shallow U shape. So again, these outlines could be marker like mine, pen, could even be a wax crayon. A wax crayon would be unique because we're going to add watercolor later, so it would resist it. Here's my very simplified glasses. Like I didn't include like the side arms, I guess. My face, it's okay if you're, a little jowly. My face is not symmetrical. Oh, I can't forget I have a little beauty mark. I have a beauty mark on the side of my face. Can't forget that. It's sort of around here. I also do like to include like a stylized eyelash. So not realistic eyelashes in the least. Something like that. What else do I want to add? Do you want to have sort of the lines from your nose to your mouth? You don't have to. That's nice. And I'm going to have sort of my forehead, the start of my forehead, but not all of it. Like, I guess is the temples side of my head. So I'll leave it like that for now. I'm going to quickly outline these other ones. Let's try a different color. I have a brown. You could be spending a lot more time tracing your own face. There we go. It doesn't look like much yet, but we will find beauty in every person's face. I'm going to go with, what about something unusual? Purple. Sure, let's do one of my portraits in purple. Go again. I'm sort of, rushing to demonstrate several, but you could be spending a much greater amount of time really fine-tuning your face, your details. And in a moment, we'll add some beautiful natural elements. Okay, so what do I have here? I've got black, brown, purple as a start. Okay, so let's look at some of the floral details a little closer. A rose, or something that sort of reminds one of a rose, sort of a spiral, a blobby spiral coming in and in and in, and then a smaller one, like a half a one. Sort of the same sort of spiral, but now we've added large petals around it. So this sort of reminds me of half of a daisy, let's say, or even maybe half of a cosmo. And then we've got 3 leaves here, 3 leaves here. And then as a little touch, a little butterfly down here. That's just one option. Here we have, so let's see, my forehead line sort of goes up and sort of becomes this loopy, again, sort of like a rose and blobby shape. Some of the petals are a little pointed. Leaves, leaves. And again, this is kind of like you could call it a daisy. You could call this a black-eyed Susan. Blobby petals around there. Also, I added some long dangling earrings. They kind of remind me of, maybe they're like sort of feathers or hoops, just as an option. You could decorate yourself in any way that you want. Let's have a look again at that sort of inspiration page that I printed. Again, that image is available in the description below if you click on the link where I put extra line art inspiration. So sort of like a ginkgo leaf right there, sort of a daisy and leaves there, butterfly, another butterfly, a rose, just the whole head kind of becomes a rose there. That's kind of nice, kind of coming up the side. Just for inspiration, look at that big sort of monstera leaf. Just for added inspiration. Let's channel some of that as we draw. So which one will I work on first? I think I'll go with myself. Now you can pencil this and then do the marker, up to you. I think I'll start off doing some pencil and then I'll segue into just doing stuff with marker. So on the sort of left side of my head, I'm going to bring that line up with my pencil, maybe bring it over and leave a lot of room here for forehead kind of area. I'm going to go over. I'm going to make this into, this is sort of my bun. I have a bun, like always. So I'll make sort of a big rose as sort of my bun. So it just kind of swirls in, kind of bouncing on the different walls. of the swirl until I get to the middle as my bun. I'll do that in the marker now just to show you it a little clearer. So this we're pretending is sort of my head. And I'm sort of bouncing against the walls as I'm spiraling in. And that's just sort of a simplified way of making a pseudo rose. And then what about another one over here? It could just be half of a one or peeking out. Once you get comfortable with the marker, you don't have to use the pencil, especially if you don't mind making an occasional mistake. There's no mistakes here. Let's go. I did like that sort of Black-Eyed Susan look. So I'm going to do a small center. That's going to be nice and dark and black, and just petals coming out in all directions, and they don't even have to match. Wide, they could be thin, they could even overlap each other. And you decide if this flower is going over, under other flowers. And I'm going to squeeze in probably 2 more here. There we go. Does it match? Is like one half bigger than the other one? These are kind of small. These are big. That's okay. What else could I add to this? Leaves and more flowers, butterflies. I'm going to add some leaves on this line. This line looks like a stem, kind of. What if it had a little mini stem and a leaf and a little line? Don't really think about it too much. Just let the pen kind of go. What else might be nice? Maybe like a little something peeking out here. This could be like a little stem coming out of here, and on that one is more leaves. And they don't have to be the same as the others. They could be little baby ones. And what if I suddenly wanted to put a ladybug? Sure, I feel like a ladybug would look nice here somewhere. On a petal, on a leaf. Let's go with, right here. Yeah. You could add like a little critter that you like. There's a little baby ladybug, why not? What else? If you have like maybe long hair, you could have maybe a lot more natural things coming down this way. What else? Do I want to do like a little, could be like a bee, a fly, a dragonfly, butterfly. Do a little bee here. Just for fun. And maybe he's got like a little, the flight path of the bee going like this. What about, you can have more leaves coming out this way or that way, more flowers. I think another flower. That's good. What about one more? I'm going to do another one here. That's kind of nice. I'm trying to look at, like, is it balanced? I feel like I need something right here. Maybe like one more leaf is missing. Yeah, so as a composition as a whole, is it balanced? It's kind of cute. So that's me. And I will just get rid of some of this pencil. I had a little pencil showing from earlier. You can take much more time adding different elements. I'm going to quickly throw some more elements on these guys, these ladies. This lady, line. And again, you could do this in pencil first. I'm going to go with that's kind of cool. What if that's the path of a butterfly? What if I do a little simplified butterfly? Let's go. Is it symmetrical? Nope. Do I really care? Not really. Simple little butterfly out of my brain. You can, look at pictures as reference. You could look at, again, that inspiration page. Okay, so that's a butterfly. What about, I did like that sort of monstera leaf idea. That's like a monstera leaf. Sort of those big ones sometimes have holes in them. Where can I do that? I'm going to sort of start with a heart. The start of my monstera leaf is sort of a heart. What about another one? We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, sort of reminiscent of a monstera leaf. Simple shapes. Don't stress if the first time you draw one, it's not perfect, because you just need practice. That is how you get better at things. A little wonkier, but I like it. That's nice. I would love to give this lady some things. Lovely. Kind of bring some more focus down here. What would be nice up here? Maybe some big flower that might remind me of like a hibiscus. Big petals, I'm thinking. And they could overlap. Could go behind the butterfly. I'm going to go right through there. Big petals, and then what do they have in the middle? That's sort of like a stamen. I think that's the word. Like a stick with a thingy. Maybe plants aren't my thing. That sort of reminds me of a hibiscus a little bit. something like it. What else would be nice? Smaller flowers, smaller leaves. Something going out this way. I don't want to go too overboard. I think that's good for now for me, but I'm going to add colors, and then let's do one more here. So there's a couple examples so far. Let's add, I did purple on this one. I liked the idea, I liked this idea, this kind of long, almost fern, sort of reminds me of eucalyptus a little bit, coming up. You know, is that a perfect curve? No, it's kind of wiggly. Mine are sort of getting smaller and smaller as I go up, but that isn't always the case, doesn't have to be. That's kind of unique. Lots of movement. Okay, what about coming up on this side? Maybe like I did have like a rose with sort of pointy little tips versus like these are kind of all around rounder. So let's get a line coming up from here. And this could just be absolutely gibberish. Like, so there's sort of a leaf. And then maybe I go over here and make a leaf. And I'm not even lifting up my marker really. I'm just kind of going around. That's kind of unique. Sort of like one continuous line. And that could take some practice, of course. That's unique. Okay, let's throw in a few more things. Again, I don't want it to be too busy. Let's go with nice. And I think something's got to come downwards. This needs something downward. This is going upward. I want down. This kind of reminds me of maybe like a mum. Just a literal blob out of my brain. Kind of reminds me of like a chrysanthemum a bit. And I think I don't want to do too much because, again, there's going to be colors, there's going to be shapes. Yeah, like that. Keep it simple. Simple line work. Simple lines. Let's look at these one more time. Couple of ways to fill in color. So this is like different shapes, abstract shapes. They don't have to be, perfect circles, perfect rectangles. What is this? Like an egg shape kind of thing. They could be touching. They could be layered on top of each other. Sort of a, what kind of a color scheme would you say that is? Like a desert color scheme, I would say. Colors of a nice desert or a dry, arid place at the very least. And then earthy tones, I would call that. A little bit of red in the glasses, earthy tones. Different ideas. This one has splashes. I love doing splashes. This one doesn't. It's a little bit more restrained. Or anything you can think of, like literally anything. So let's put these aside for a bit, but we can always come back to our pens and markers if we want to add, more line work, more details. Where is that? Oh, there's a stream of sun coming in sneakily. We don't want that. Get our water. This is and yeah, you could be using colored pencils, drawing shapes with colored pencils, pastels, filling in petals with pastels if you like, really anything you want. I've got a couple brushes here, but use a brush, that's appropriate to the area that you're working on. So if you're doing like a small detail, use a small brush. Got quite a big brush here. So it's up to you whether you want to color in the skin. So this is sort of like the skin is colored in. This one's not. Up to you. Let's do lovely. Let's do some brown here. And sometimes I'll mix colors in the lid. If I don't have the exact color that I want, I'll just mix it in the lid a little bit. A tan color. And because this particular one is on just printer paper, don't spend a whole lot of time brushing this paint on. It's sort of like one and done. Because we don't want to, ooh, we got a little red in that one. We don't want to burst through, do a quick coat, be done. What's the skin tone of anyone else? Or should I just go abstract on that one? I do like, let's do a little bit, let's do a little brown here. Nice, rich brown tone. Do a quick coat. And if a little gets on a flower, that's fine. Very quick little coat. And then maybe for that one, I won't do the skin color. So I'll jump around, but you guys can just work on one. I'm going to add some shapes to this one. I'm thinking I want to do something bright and summery for my own portrait. I've got loads of beautiful greens here. And you could literally just put a circle or a rectangle or really anything. Think about your favorite colors. sort of like a lime green. What if I did a darker green? What about a rectangle? It's still fairly light. You can, of course, see all the lines through the paint because it's watercolor paint. It's transparent. You can see all of the, you know, whether it's a printed sheet music or you got it from a book. All right, let's look at this lady here. Well, that dries a little bit. Let's look at this lady. I'll do maybe a quick green on some of these Monstera leaves. And again, if you go outside the lines, not a problem. And again, quick coat. Yeah, beautiful. That's starting to get some life to it. I'm going to do something over here while that dries. Maybe a beautiful orange. Purple and orange are going to look phenomenal together. Purple and yellow will be good too. So this is sort of like a, maybe it's like an orange marigold here. Blob. What about a beautiful red rose? Is it a rose? I don't know. Now, if you have actual watercolor paper that you're working on, you can have a bit more water, a bit more paint, and be a little less rushed. I'm just kind of slapping it on in this particular case. Let's do, I'm going to go back to, jump back over here. Something blue. Maybe a little blue is very summery. It doesn't have to even line up with what you have drawn. Like, it doesn't have to be a blue circle by the rose. So I've got sort of half the rose is blue. Maybe a square by my eye. Let's do that. And I kind of overlapped the square and the circle, so there's a new color formed when the two overlap each other. A new color for free. There we go, blue square. That's looking a little bit summery there. Maybe like a beautiful pink hibiscus, pseudo hibiscus. Yep. Gonna get a little, probably yellow or orange. I can't be bothered to paint the petals individually. Just kind of blobbed it on. Beautiful. Let's get some, maybe some beautiful yellow. Call that goldenrod is the color I would call that. It's a little orangey yellow. Nice. I did like that color. Let's do more. A small one. Three very different portraits are emerging here. I've got to grab a smaller brush. I want to do lips with a slightly smaller brush. Yeah, that's good. Could be dark lips, could be lighter lips. Again, over here I have a choice. Do I want to do traditional colored lips? Do I want to do an unusual colored lip? Yep, I'm going to do something weird. I'm going to do green lips. I like that. I'm also going to do a green eyebrow because I can, because this is my line art. Green eyebrow. I do like this green. I'm going to continue that green in my leaves. Nice. Where else would I like this green? It's a little dark, little dark. And still, I'm not even staying in the lines for these leaves. Look real close. Not even within the lines. That's all right. Lovely. You need eyebrows. And I'm also going to add like a little shading to the skin tones. So I'm picturing the light source of this woman. The light might be coming from the left. So maybe the right side is a little darker. The nostrils would be darker. Next to the nose, a little darker. Under the nose. A bit of darkness on sort of the eyelid kind of part there. Maybe it would be darker under here. Didn't even paint her ears, silly me. So again, I'm picturing the light is on the left side. So the right side's going to be a little darker. A little darker within any, creases or folds. And you need eyebrows. I guess half the nose should be a little darker. Yeah, right half of the nose. A little bit more color in some of these different objects. I could have blue leaves. I don't have to have green leaves only. I could have purple leaves. I don't have to only have blue leaves. Back to my other one. This is getting pretty dry. Some darker shapes. I could fill in my glasses. What's a good glasses color? Green. But a different green. I've got several greens in the same painting. What else could you add to this? You could add words, some kind of a inspirational, maybe self-reflecting quote, name. Can I get splashes? Also, I added like things that aren't even drawn on. So like on this one in particular, I've got a few like leaf shapes, but they're not like you know, drawn on. I've just added them like after the fact. Let's do a few of those. Why not? Press and flick. Press and flick. As many as you like. Press and flick. Anywhere you like. Press and flick. Press and flick. Press and flick. That's kind of cute. I'm going to try this bigger brush, see what happens. Bigger leaf. Press and flick. Press and flick. I'm debating adding some down here. I'm not gonna. I was thinking about it though. Press and flick. That's fun. What about just like patterns or marks, or, you know, it doesn't always have to make sense what we add to our art. What if I just suddenly want to add orange squares or shapes? It doesn't have to make sense, no. It's kind of unique. Sure. What if I suddenly want to add some blue? Let's go blue. Lines. That kind of gives it like a warrior face paint kind of a look. Okay, what about over here? Suddenly I feel like I want to add an arch shape. It's like a half a circle. That's different. Half a circle. What else? Splashes. I feel like I want to do splashes. I think I want to do that eyebrow needs something. Okay. Yeah, I think I want to do some splashes. So, I mean, you don't have to do them. Here is like a splash-free idea. This one's got splashes. I'm going to move this one away. Let me focus on these guys for splashes. Get a brush that's a little bit bigger. Choose a color that is like already in your composition, right? Load up your brush with lots of painty water. Let's just move that one first. Get over here. This is yellow. So sometimes I tap my brush on my finger, and like you could do the color like near the object. So you're gonna get tiny little splashes. I got some on the table. Or if you want a little bit bigger splashes, I hurl the brush at my paper and then stop short, like flicking a magic wand. Flick, flick. So I'm kind of putting the yellow by the yellow. You don't have to though. Yellow. Put some pink. A little bit of pink on my flower, kind of gives it nice texture. Ooh, that was a well-placed splat. And like, let's say you do a splash and you don't really like the splash. Like maybe this one's too thick for you. What if I just turn that into something else, a circle? That's unique. What about another one here? What about green? Yeah, green would be nice. Green. Green. Let's go back to this one. Maybe some fall colors, red, orange, brown. I might even give her a rosy cheek. That's not for everyone. You don't have to do that. Ooh, that was a big splash. What about, what did I say? Browns, oranges, yellows, fall colors, warm colors. As sort of a theme. Darkening some features if you like. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Got brown on my brush. What if I suddenly want to do a brown rectangle? There you go. That's pretty unique. And then got my other one. I don't have any splashes on this one. Don't think I'm gonna. I'm just gonna add, what else can I add? We could go back to the pens even. Go back to your pens, add patterns or swirls or anything. Let's get some, we're gonna get some blue. And this lovely teal. Some stripes on that one. You can doodle anything you want. Doodle an extra flower. What else can I add to this? Ooh, pattern on my glasses. I forgot my little bee. Maybe I'll need to paint him yellow. My little bee friend. There we go. There you go. Ooh, more teal. Yeah, that's kind of unique. And once you do one or a couple of these, you could just make more and more different people, different color scheme, different styles. You know, do it on watercolor paper for like a more professional look. You could frame that, gift it to someone. What about little mini ones for greeting cards? Really, the sky's the limit. You could try different, you know, pastels. What's fun with pastels and like wax crayons is they resist the watercolor. So if you do some kind of a pattern or flower with those and then do watercolor afterward in like a big sort of wash, it'll resist and look really cool. I'm gonna, you know, sign it, you know, put your initials or your signature in there somewhere. I think the color, you gotta have like a color that matches though. Something that goes with the composition. You could do a composition with many faces together, maybe like a series of sisters together, husband and wife. What if you try this with a photo of a pet? Wouldn't that be interesting? Simplify the shape of the pet's face, body, add some natural elements, and really just have fun with that. I would love to see what that looks like if you do a pet or anything at all. I'd love to see that. Yeah, I'm just having fun now. So in the description below, I've put a link to our Facebook group. It's called Artist Palette Painting / Drawing Support Group and free events. So I'd love to see photos of your paintings, of your line arts. I especially love when kids show their art and maybe put their like age on the painting itself. That is adorable. I want to show you what's coming up later this month. It's right here. Ugh, okay, so I called it pond skimmers. So dragonflies, they, you know, skim along ponds. It is watercolor on just regular computer paper made into a collage in my sketchbook here. So we're going to paint on computer paper, rip it up, cut it up, and create this composition of pond skimmers. There's one there. I did another example, slightly different color there. So if you are interested in learning this tutorial from me, this one is a paid tutorial on our website. The tickets are $10 and it just helps support me and enables me to continue to put on free events here on YouTube for you guys. Our website is, of course, artistpaletteDurham.com. Pond Skimmers is coming up the end of this month. I believe it's like the end of the month, the 31st. Coming up. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. I would love to see photos in our free event Facebook group. See you there and enjoy the rest of your evening and take care. Happy painting, guys. Bye now.